So I don't know what it is in YouTube's algorithm that just sort of pushed this video on me, but I saw this short that's called, what's it called? Things at my Japanese school that could send Americans into a coma. And I wanted to check out, I'm American, even though I've been living in Japan for the last 4 years or so. Hey, I'm American. Put me into a coma. I want it. Please. So let's see what will put Americans into a coma. I'm very curious about this.
Things about my school in Japan that could send Americans into a coma.
We all had to change from outdoor to indoor shoes as soon as we entered the school, and no, I never saw any love note confessions in the shoe cubbies.
So changing from outdoor to indoor shoes is like, it's new? That's a new thing? Americans don't know that? I'm pretty sure I learned that when I was like a freshman in high school, like 14 years ago, and I didn't even care about Japan at that time, so I don't know. I feel like it's pretty common knowledge that, like, of course you have to change your shoes before going in, or take your shoes off. I mean, that's a whole, like, that's the whole thing. That's what makes Yamato people so, like, oh, we're so special and unique and different. Oh, the wa. No, I don't know how that can put someone into a coma. And love note confessions in the shoe lockers, bruh, really? That's like akin to, Japanese people assuming that it's really common to, put love notes into the little slats in someone's locker because they saw it in a 1980s high school drama movie. No, that's not how that works. Look, in Japan, it's totally legal as a non-mail carrier to slip mail into someone else's mailbox by yourself. So as long as it's not threatening, and if it's a love note, that's the way they do it nowadays. And that's the modern way, all right? None of this embarrassing yourself at school or your friend, because let's be real, most of the time it's just a prank when that happens. But like, yeah, no, you just put it in their mailbox, man. Come on. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?
Also, you don't know clean until you've been to a Japanese school, because these kids clean the school from top to bottom every single day.
It's so weird to me how Americans kind of assume that, oh, Japanese kids clean their own schools, therefore the school is like super clean. No, I don't know where this assumption is coming from, especially when you're in a school. You probably are new, right? You're new here, so like, you probably don't know yet just how unclean that school probably is. Because, see, here's the thing, okay? A lot of Americans think, oh, it's a good idea, you make the kids clean their own school, tough, whatever, parenting, but like, it's not really doing anything. I don't know. I don't know what it is, what's going on at this school or anything like that, but at my school that I work at, of course I can't take photos or videos of anything because it's low-key, kind of, not really, but illegal here, so I can't really do that. But as far as like, we have an English classroom, and there's a team of kids dedicated to cleaning that room. We're talking wiping down the windowsills and the windows, and vacuuming the rug, and like, cleaning off the desks and all that fun stuff, and the board too. That doesn't happen. Because, see, the teacher who's supposed to oversee them also has to oversee another team of kids, like, in a completely different part of the hallway there, which is kind of far away from that English room, so it's kind of a little bit unreasonable in that regard. And so the team of kids that rotate into that position, they see it as really lucky because they can close themselves into this classroom and do nothing. Because, see, as it turns out, when you leave it to kids ages 7 to 12, they're not going to they don't want to do this. They'd rather be doing anything else than clean things, okay? So they're not going to if presented with the opportunity. I can't tell you the number of times I've just walked around and I've seen kids just kind of like floating around in a corner, kind of staring off, like half-heartedly pretending like they're doing something when they're not doing anything. I've seen second graders use a rag to wipe down the floor, and then without doing anything with that rag, take that same rag with dirt and dust and dead bugs on it, and then start wiping down tables and just smearing all of that all over the tables and call that clean. So I don't want to hear about how clean the schools are because you gave 7-year-olds the ability to clean their... No. The schools are, in my experience, never really get clean. You're not hiring professionals. They're not going to clean like professionals, right? I mean, that's why at that school that I work at, they have to bring in parents once a year towards the end of the year to just do a deep clean of, well, actually just the windows. But it's just like, bruh, are you serious right now? I hate this mentality that Americans have where it's like, oh, they make the kids clean the schools, so that must mean the schools are super clean. No, not really. I mean, either the kids aren't going to want to clean, or if it's a small school, the chances are that there aren't enough students to clean everywhere. So you're going to have parts of the school that are just going to be perpetually dirty because they can't reach it within that 35 minute window of time. So it's a bunch of garbage. All right, it's a myth. It's a myth. Just because they're Japanese doesn't mean that they're not like other kids. They don't want to clean. They'd rather play on their iPads or throw the ball at each other or whatever. They'd rather do all that stuff. All right. It bothers me so much. Kids are they don't want to clean, dang it.
They also serve themselves lunch and clean their own trays.
So they cleaned their own trays? I mean, I've never heard that. Usually the company or the school lunch serving center takes care of all of that. They do serve each other lunch, but like I don't know. It's not really that special, I don't think. Is it? I don't know. Maybe I've just been here for too long. It's not really a new thing to me, though. I mean, again, even going back to when I was in high school, freshman year, English class, 14 years ago. So, I don't know.
And being this clean also means every time you're feeling even just a bit under the weather, you are expected to wear a mask.
And of course, she has to bring up the mask thing because that triggers a lot of Americans. But it's really interesting because I started here right at the beginning of Corona, essentially. So I've only ever known going out in public really with a mask, and I always do. And honestly, I prefer it. And the reason why is because I have a horrible poker face. If we're in class or something and a kid does something like funny, I laugh. I think it's hilarious, even though it's terrible. Like, I shouldn't be doing that or whatever. But like, having the mask on is like a really good way to sort of just like mask my reaction. So honestly, I don't see what the big deal is. Even if you're slightly under the weather, it's like, oh no, not the mask, anything but the mask. And I you know what? She's using one of like the washable ones. Miss me with those. I'd rather just get the freaking disposable ones. Because washing those masks, dude, is just nah. Miss me with that. But, yeah, masks aren't that bad, man. They really aren't.
But the most restrictive rule was that girls could either have a bob or their hair in a low pony, not a high pony. And apparently it's because every student had to bike to school and only low ponytails would fit in their helmets. Though I'll let you guys decide if that was the real reason.
Yeah, school uniform it's a thing, and the teachers and staff and whoever is in charge really spend a long time deliberating on every tiny, insignificant detail about them. I remember a couple years ago, I think the first year I started, there was a former ALT with my company who I think went direct hire or something like that, worked in a different city. He talked about how there was a meeting that the staff had at his school at that time, where they deliberated for like over an hour over the color of the track suits. And so it's really ridiculous. I mean, anyway, but that's beside the point. As far as like the hairstyles for girls, honestly, I don't have girl brain, so I don't know like what the difference is between a low pony and a high pony. I'm not even going to friggin' pretend to know what the difference is between those things, or like what the symbolic significance between like the high and the low, like what symbolizes high versus low with a real what is there something to hide about that? I don't know. I mean, the bike helmet thing kind of sounds like it makes a little bit of sense, but like I mean, does a high pony like mean something? Does it signify something? Is there a hidden message in it? I really would like to know. Please let me know in the comments, because I don't know. That's the real reason. I think that's supposed to be rage bait. And consider it taken. Consider it taken. But yeah, school uniforms, micromanaging kids outside of school and all that stuff. Yeah, it's something that happens quite often in Japanese schools, for better or for worse, I suppose.
Another big one was that no students were allowed to wear makeup or have piercings.
Yeah, school uniforms. I mean, especially with the piercings thing. Like, I mean, I don't know. Personally, if I'm going to be totally honest here, to a certain extent, I kind of agree with the sentiment behind school uniforms, although the system in Japan is still excessively flawed. And here's what I mean by that, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but when it comes to like makeup and piercings, first of all, for me, I don't see why it really matters so much, how it's distracting or whatever. I will never understand. I mean, I'm all for me. Like, I kind of believe in like expression and freedom to do so and all that. However, when it comes to like the clothing, right? I feel like the school uniform is kind of a good idea, like in principle. And the reason why I think that is because one of the problems in America especially is that it would serve as kind of like an equalizer of sorts. A lot of kids, you can kind of tell, sort of like the kids who are haves versus the have-nots, based on like the clothing that they wear, like what's hand-me-down or what's old or whatever versus what's flashy, not flashy, but like in style, all that fun stuff, especially with shoes. I don't understand the obsession with shoes. It's so stupid. I hate shoes. Anyway, but yeah, no, it's like it's a thing that it really leads to a lot of like issues, like class-based bullying in American schools, especially where like there's like a disparity between certain income brackets. Maybe one is overrepresented or whatever. In any event, I feel like that school uniform system, like in principle, where everybody kind of wears the same clothes, kind of like evens that out a little bit. The problem in Japan, of course, is that, because you have school uniforms and, things associated with school uniforms, of course, the Japanese capitalist system is going to come and be like, oh yeah, we sell school uniforms. It's $1,000 for one set. Like, it's like... And like they're gonna buy these uniforms, and kids are gonna outgrow them, and so you're gonna need to buy it again and again. And the most ridiculous thing is they have those school bags, randoseru. Those things are ungodly expensive, and like they act like you could theoretically have a choice. I remember I saw a Sora News article or Rocket News. It was one of the two where they went on about the history of the Japanese school bag, and like this whole sort of like trend was set by the freaking Meiji Emperor's son. I think they gave his son like that a military style backpack, the randoseru, and like ever since then it's like it became really fashionable back then during the Meiji and Taisho eras, and then like it's went from being like the fashionable thing to like the indisputable de facto rule, like you have to buy this. And it's like the schools don't benefit from it. It's the companies that manufacture them, and one of those things can easily go upwards of like $300 to $500, and those are the cheap ones. It's ridiculous, and I can't stand it, right? And so you're still gonna have like a class disparity there, but I don't think it's as maybe well, I don't know. It becomes more apparent as the kids get older, I suppose, but I don't know. It's ridiculous, like the micromanagement down to like the bag that you carry your textbooks in now matters, and it's just like talk about paying attention to details that don't matter or matter the least. Those things do get beat up pretty bad because, kids, but like, I mean, as soon as they leave school, like those bags they end up in the garbage, or maybe hand me down if they have a younger sibling, which is increasingly rare. And so most of the time it's just like in the garbage. All right, we don't need that anymore. Bye bye. Or, because that's how they do, and this cycle just perpetuates itself. They turned a fashionable thing into like, well, we've always done this, so I guess it's the rule now. It's one of those things about Japan that I really can't. It just doesn't make any sense. Oh, I lost the plot. Let me recenter myself. Next.
But the one that really sent me spiraling was that they always left the windows and doors open, and there was no heating or cooling in the halls. So I had to walk around in a coat for about half the year.
Yes! Someone said it out loud. Thank you! Let me tell you something about Japanese architecture. Oh, the architecture. I love it. It makes me feel peaceful. Live in it. And then tell me it makes you feel peaceful and that it doesn't drive you absolutely insane. Let me tell you something, especially when it comes to schools. You know why they leave those windows open at your school all the time? I don't know. I don't know if you know. I don't know if you're like kind of like watering things down because it's got to be a minute long or whatever. Let me put it this way, okay? Japanese buildings, for the most part, are not designed. Let me repeat that. Japanese buildings, to this day, are not designed with proper HVAC systems. That's HVAC, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Okay, it's too expensive. American. This is something I hear a lot. American boards of education are rich, so they can afford the running costs. No, it's called like just heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. It's literally like a thing that like most, modern buildings since most modern buildings are kind of built with. Now, not there are like if you go to like a mall or something like that, of course they're going to have like some kind of HVAC system in there. But if we're talking about schools, no, their heating, ventilation, and air conditioning solutions are: you want heating? We're gonna, near the end of November, we're going to just bring out these colossal, freaking kerosene space heaters and just put them in the room, and you fill them with like kerosene and they just sit there and burn. And like, of course, because they use the kerosene heaters, there's like a whole industry that's built around air quality monitors that monitor the air quality, and you can see how much worse it gets because of the kerosene heaters. And so, how do you ventilate that? Well, as soon as the room gets just warm enough, you turn off the kerosene heater and open all the windows. And that's how you ventilate the air, make the air quality better. But what happens when you open the windows in the middle of winter? The room gets freezing cold. And Japanese, I don't know how they managed to do this, but it's really interesting. Japanese architects found a way to make the most modern of buildings stay colder than it is outside in the winter and hotter than it is on the outside in the summer. Every inclement weather you could ever not want is exactly what Japanese architecture is great for giving you. They are not insulated from the outside at all. Windows are designed by, they don't have insulation. Right behind me here in my apartment, modern apartment built like in 2008, I think, I have a colossal draft coming in from the bottom of my window. And these windows are better than the ones that we have at my schools. Both of them. Those windows are even worse. We'll have the windows closed, and I swear sometimes I can feel a breeze. Like it's crazy, bruh. And of course at my main school, the friggin' it's open air mostly, so they only have to bother like heating the individual classrooms when they're being used. But it's just, and like, yeah, oh well, no, we have like air conditioner units or whatever, but like they're like meant for apartment, like single room apartments, not for giant classrooms. So of course they're not going to heat properly. You need a pretty hefty machine in order to do that. And like, I mean, it's so low tech, Japanese schools seem to still be living in like 1938. I say that because I'm reading a book called The Makioka Sisters, which takes place in the mid to late 1930s, and they talk about using brand new kerosene heaters. So that's how old that is. Yeah, Japan is living in the future totally with their 90-year-old HVAC technology.
But the worst one had to be some of the English in the posters that they put up without my approval.
Without your approval, huh? And what authority do you have to approve anything at your school? You must be new here, aren't you? Yeah, you must be new here. You think that you have to approve of the English posters. And oh, that's adorable. Oh, okay. Now here's the reality of the situation. All right, no, you're a third party. As far as the school is concerned, you're a third party part-time contractor. Okay, you have no authority at the school whatsoever. You're not even a real teacher. I mean, I saw one of your other videos where you spend most of your time on like Quizlet or whatever. It's like, yeah, you're an ALT, just like me. Hey, not looking down on you. I understand. I kind of get it. Although I've never used Quizlet or anything like that. I don't really. I can't. That's why. But that's a different story. But like, yeah, no. So, like, yeah, you're an ALT, and me too, right? So I get it, but like, you also have to understand, because it seems like you're new to this whole thing. No, you're not. You're not going to. Nobody has to run anything by you. That's when it comes to like English posters. There's basically like the chain of command bypasses you completely and goes to just like the real staff at the school, including like the homeroom teachers and and then what? Maybe maybe if you have a dedicated like English teacher, a Japanese English teacher, it goes through them, or then maybe the teacher who's in charge of, you know, organizing or directing the English curriculum at the school, and then, you know, the vice principal and the principal, like that's their territory. And you know what, they don't understand a lick of English either, so they'll be like, yeah, it's good practice. And so like it doesn't, like kicking the balls, yeah, get used to it. You're without my approval, without my authorization, as if you have the authority. No, you don't. You never will. So don't even. Of course, I know that's probably trying to like get, you know, a reaction from Americans. That'll probably put them into a coma because they're like, you're the English teacher. They need to put it through. It's a racism. No, not that. They just don't know the reality of the ALT position. You're not an English teacher. You're just an assistant who, you're the resident gaijin, and you're hired to basically exist. And that's pretty much it. Everything else is just kind of extra, which is why you make less than a McDonald's worker does. Oh, man. So, did this video put me into a coma? I think it did. I think it was successful. I am in a coma. I don't know what else to say. It did its job, even though I've been here. You know, one thing I want to ask too is like, how come like every white foreign girl who comes to Japan looks exactly like this girl? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I like they all have the same face. Are you all clones? Are you all like AI generated clones or something? Real talk. I really want to know.